So this is all under the predication, under the condition that the government is not doing anything, right? That we're just allowing the free market to be free. But for a variety of reasons, right? The government comes in and they impose restrictions on market activity. So the one we're going to talk about today is going to be something like a fast food worker. And we're going to talk about minimum wages. So an interesting thing about when we're looking at workers, right? So when we're looking at workers, now instead of being on the demand side, right, which we normally are, when we buy pizzas, we're on the demand side. When we're getting, education, we're on the demand side, right? But when we're working, we're actually on the supply side. So this actually bleeds a little bit into chapter 4 when we talk about labor markets, right? So we're going to be talking a little bit about labor markets right now. And so instead of just supply and demand, we could talk about this as the supply for labor and the demand for labor. And so when we're talking about the supply for labor, right, we're really talking about, we're talking about workers and their willingness to work at any given wage. And so then instead of having a price up here, what we actually want to have is a wage. And so in the absence of the government coming in and imposing restrictions, this equilibrium wage for a fast food worker would probably be around $5. Now, what actually happens? Anybody here actually get paid $5 an hour? No. Why is that? Minimum wage, yes. Minimum wage. So nobody can get paid below a certain dollar amount per hour, right? And what is the minimum wage in Nebraska? Thank you. So the minimum wage is $12. And so what this is going to do is this is going to mean that the demand for labor, right? And so the demand for labor, this is talking about employers. So this is, McDonald's, Taco John's, Bean Broker, right? These are the managers, the owners of the place. And this demand curve is telling us how many laborers they would like to hire at a given wage, right? Well, if they can't hire for less than $12, then we know how many they're going to want to hire. They're going to want to hire, let's say, 60 workers. But at $12, how many workers are actually available for work? More than 60. So the supply of labor at $12 is in excess of the demand for labor at $12. And so this difference here, right? We talked about this before. We call this a surplus. And this surplus, when we're talking about the worker scenario, right? This surplus is the unemployment population. Also known as the Reserve Army of Labor, for those classical economists among us, which I guess is just myself. A little joke for myself there. So that's why unemployment exists, because the government won't let us pay people dirt wages. So if the government, let us pay people $2 an hour or whatever the case may be, then unemployment would go away. However, we would have more people on, food stamps and all sorts of, programs like that, right? The people that are on minimum wage right now are already on food stamps and government assistance. I believe McDonald's has a hotline to help their workers get on food stamps rather than just pay their workers more money. So, Walmart too. So we get to subsidize these large corporates, use of labor, right? So that's fun. But yeah, so that's why unemployment exists. There's very good reasons to have different minimum wage laws, but at the end of the day, minimum wage laws mess up with the free market operating, and so minimum wage laws are the reason why we have unemployment at all.